Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Khalil Zain with ID number 8, 12, 12, 10, and 82. So at this moment I would like to inform you information that I've got from this story. I'll do the I'll do the task from a reading aspect. So in here, the story that I chose is The Valley of Fear by Conan Doyle, Part 1. Here is it tells about Sherlock Holmes stories, but in here different story. So I would like to start with the character first, the characters of the story first. In here, like the story, the last story, was the narrator is not the narrator, but the main character is Sherlock Holmes, the owner detective known for his brilliant detective skills, which has a good skills. The next is Sherlock Holmes' friend, Dr. John Watson. Yes, Holmes' loyal friend and narrator of the story. He is the narrator of the story, so he is who tells about Sherlock Holmes' work, what Sherlock Holmes did to fix the problem, to finish the investigations. Next, John Douglas, the central character, a wealthy man who has a mysterious part and becomes the focus of the investigation. Next, Cecil Baker. He is a friend of John Douglas and a key figure in the unfolding events. Next, Mr. Douglas, Mr. Douglas, or John Douglas' wife. A beautiful woman with a calm, the manner. So he is not he, but she is a beautiful woman with yes, what do you call that? It's John Douglas' wife, who is work together with Cecil Baker to hide John Douglas' death. Next, Amos, the butler of the Douglas household. Next one is Inspector MacDonald, a Scotland Yard detective assisting Holmes in the investigation. Next one, Mr. Mason, another detective involved in the case. And then next is Ted Baldwin. The last one is Master McGinty. And they mention it in a connection with the Fire of Fear. The last character is a character that's mentioned by John Douglas, which John Douglas states about him is his enemy in the past. So before he married his wife, John Douglas has a mysterious history with this person, with this character. So this is a really good character. Or we can say that John Douglas' enemy is a villain, something like that. Okay, we move to the setting of the story. Of course, the story is set in a manor house in the English countryside. known as a Birstone Manor or Manor House. It features a various room, including a studio where a murder takes place, a living room, and gardens. The action also extends to other locations such as Thornbury Wells and nearby towns. So in here, the John Douglas was died in some place in the house, but John Douglas not really die actually. He just hiding his death to other, so he can be safe. He can be what we call of. He can, yeah, of course he can be safe from his enemy. It's like that. So next, the summary of the story. Here's the short explanation about the story. Yes, the story begins with Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson receiving a puzzling message about a murder at Birstone Manor. So they arrive to investigate the murder of John Douglas, a wealthy man with a secretive past. The detectives examine the crime scene and uncover mysterious details, including a bloody cord with the letters V. And a wedding ring that is missing from the victim's fingers. As the investigation unfolds, Holmes and the Dwarfs interview various witness including the housekeeper Cecil Baker and Mr. Douglas. And then clues led Holmes to suspect that the murder might be connected to a secret society and events not events from John Douglas times in America. Through careful deduction and analysis of evidence, Holmes revealed that the body found at the crime scene is not John Douglas, but that the Ted Baldwin, Cyrus John Douglas himself refers and confessed to faking his death to escape from dangerous enemies. Like I thought, this is John Douglas is just hiding the his death because he tried to avoid dangerous enemies. And then the story ends with the promise of an uncommon explanation for the Valley of Fear, loading into the deeper backstory that remains to be told. So the the next part of this story would tells actually because I just read the part one of this story, so still there is a continuity this story. The next story is will tells about the truth of the person, the enemies that hiding from this story. Okay, the moral for you of the story, the last part. So from this part, from this part, I would like to tell the story confers several moral values. Of course, so much that I can get from the story. Uh, Not too much actually, but just one point that including the importance of facing one's past and taking responsibility for one's actions. It highlights the consequence of deception and the impact it can have on others. Additionally, the story emphasizes the significant what we call significant I can tell that of the trust, loyalty, and friendship as seen in the relationship between Holmes and Dr. Watson, as well as the bonds between the characters in the narrative. So in here, uh, simplify the is it just uh, how do you can be responsible for others, and then also how are we don't be afraid about the problems. If like the John Douglas in here, he should be tell his wife about his story, but in here he didn't. So when he didn't tell his wife about his story, when the problem come, like the enemies to want to kill John Douglas, his wife doesn't know, and then make a problem, right? So when we have a problem, we should tell to other. We should uh, take responsibility for that. I think that's already more for you that I can take about friendship. How are we should be good about for our friends, and then so much. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.